Well, it was a very happy day. We used to kid what made us happier, getting ordained or just leaving the seminary. It was a long haul through the seminary in those days. But what I remember is, my parents were there. I had one of my grandparents there and so many family members. And it was like the climax, in a way, of long, hard preparation. And I had this great joy knowing now that I could minister as a priest. And I felt very grateful, that I was chosen for this, and just the reality of being a priest meant something special to me. It was like definitely a different feeling. I remember when my first assignment at St. John the Baptist in Syracuse, I started to teach in a school, and somebody's running down the hall and saying, "Father, Father, Father," and it never registered. I'm Father, And a good friend of mine, a colleague in the priesthood, he says, you have to get used to the priesthood. It takes a while to get used to the priesthood, and realize that people see you in a different light, and you're going to come from like an angle, a posture that you never had before. And so things are going to be different. And he said you have to kind of just ease into it. You always have to remember that they see you as a priest, and even though you haven't come to terms with that yourself yet. But I'll never forget that incident. And another time, this young couple came in. I was only ordained about a month, and they were experiencing several difficulties and problems, and were talking about it. And I said to them, I said, maybe you ought to see a priest. So obviously it takes a while to get used to being a priest. But that's what I remember in my early days. Well, I can tell you this, it's been very gratifying, very fulfilling. Certainly has challenges, and I personally had my ups and downs, struggles. There's been really difficult times, and I know that goes with any life, But as I get ready now for this 50th celebration, and I'm blessed to have many people from my past assignments, and people coming from the Binghamton area and here in Syracuse, and members of my family. I live among saints. There's so many problems in the world, and sometimes it can be really overwhelming. Sometimes I find it hard to watch the news, and sometimes I have this feeling of being overwhelmed. And especially with young people. I worked in college campus for 11 years in Binghamton. And to see the goodness, the faith of those young people. And again, I mentioned this so many times, I walk among saints that I'm so inspired, I'm so energized by the people around me that we talk about the mystery of evil. I always think about the mystery of good. How can these, especially young people, be so good when they live in a world with such secular values, and nobody honors the time-earned values, the Judeo-Christian ethic, How do they do it? It has to be the grace of God. And I think that a lot of times that keeps me going. And now being ordained 50 years, working with people at different places, I'm so gratified to see them living Christian lives, and to think that I had a part of that. I know God, I have to plant, I have to sow, but I know God gives the grace. But to think that I had a hand in that somehow, That is a gift, a grace that's been given to me. Well, there's been several, because they're always working with people in the sacraments, and I can think of, like, in every parish, like when I was in Binghamton, the students at one point wanted me to give the graduation talk, but they had already got a speaker and all that. And here's a time when they were going crazy at graduations, and all kinds of stuff going on, and letting off firecrackers and balloons and stuff like that. And so as I was giving the final blessing for the graduation ceremony, and the president allowed me to also turn that into like a little farewell and everything like that. And I thought, wow, that was really a compliment coming from that particular community. And there's been, I had the chance when I came to Syracuse to work with the African American community, and that was really special. I didn't know how that would be. I came from the suburbs of Binghamton to not urban city, the urban part of Syracuse, and highly urban. And boy, again, the faith and the enthusiasm, and what these people, how the people live by their faith is in the face of so much opposition, you might say, and prejudice and so on. I just, it would just always struck me, and that somehow being with people like that just kept energizing me to keep going. That was a big thing. Now, I'm not a pastor anymore. I'm like a parochial vicar here at the cathedral, and what I really love is I'm involved in every aspect of parish life here. And I do baptisms, I work with the First Communion kids and their parents, I do confirmation, I visit the sick in hospitals, I do so many funeral masses, and then visit the surviving spouse and so on afterward, and just engaging with the people here. Again, I just find incredible stories. I love to hear the people's stories, and it just reminds me of the tremendous power of God's grace. And again, that seems to be a real catalyst for me, just to keep going. And when I'm down, and sometimes, maybe as you get older, you get down, you get discouraged sometimes, but there's always people around to pick you up. There's always people, and I believe that's an answer to my prayers, that God has answered my prayers by putting people in my life that have helped me continue and have sustained me in this special vocation.